So one of the most frequently asked questions, both in talkbacks and I guess in general, is which comes first, music or lyrics? Now, as somebody who writes music, lyrics, and book, I think that's why this question comes up for me, and I think my answer might be a little dissatisfying because I pretty much just say it depends. And that's the truth. It honestly depends on what the moment in the script is calling for. I will say more often than not, for me, they arrive together. I'll have a sense of what a song is supposed to accomplish, and then I'll kind of think through possible lyrical hooks or ideas upon which to base the number. But that also goes hand in hand with a musical feeling, a sense of what the style of the song could be. And I would say very rarely do I start purely with lyrics, where I just write a whole bunch of lyrics out and then try to set them to music. I will most likely have a song style in mind, and I'll write lyrics with that kind of rhythm or feel in my head. It has happened where I will have a sense of music, harmony, and a melody, and then set lyrics to them later. But again, this is less frequent than the music and lyrics kind of arriving together. One example of that is in my show, The Four Immigrants. There's a song towards the end of Act 2 that the entire cast sings, and it's called Furusato, which is the Japanese word for home or homeland. I remember while I was working on Act 1 of Four Immigrants, I was kind of in the thick of it and I needed a break. I knew that there was going to be some song in Act 2 that would hearken to a Japanese folk tune. So I was playing around with chords on my keyboard right here, and I laid out these chords that just felt right to me, to the point where I was feeling moved by them, even though I had no idea what the actual lyrics were going to be. And it just so happened that what I had set in the chords happened to line up with the word furusato. Of course, that word didn't appear until months later. So that is one example where I had a musical sense of what needed to happen in the show without yet knowing what the lyrical content was. But for the most part, it is some combination of the two arriving together, informing each other. And I would even say that the book elements, which there is this common understanding that the book is the non-sung portions of the musical, but that's actually not the complete picture. Oftentimes, book writers are also helping to take existing songs and somehow string that together so that there's a flow to the entire show. So book writers do more than just the talky parts. So for me, the book is not separate from this process of songwriting because a musical theater piece is one whole thing. Now, of course, I'm talking about the times when I'm not collaborating with somebody else, but when I am working on book music and lyrics for a project, I can't separate the three elements because they're all flowing together in one musical theater story. But yeah, I think about all three so much to the point that when I write songs for shows, they actually aren't easily extracted. I know it would probably be more commercially viable to have my musicals filled with a bunch of songs that can be played on the radio or that can be sung at a cabaret without much context. And there's probably a handful of songs or two handfuls of songs in the work that I've done that can be extracted in that way. But for the most part, there's lyrical content in my songs that are so specific to that particular story that they don't really make sense divorced from the larger picture. And that's just a stylistic preference, but that's how I like to write. I guess with my dissatisfying answer, the part that might be satisfying is the fact that there is no one way to go about writing these songs. They can emerge from any direction and any perspective. And I think that's part of the fun as a writer, is to discover where the next song idea is going to come from, whether that's through toiling really hard over lyrical content because you know there's something the song needs to accomplish, or whether it's that moment of aha, and you stumble upon the right chords and the right melody. All of that is what it is to be a musical theater writer. This week I am working on revising the score for my show Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, which will have a remount at Bay Area Children's Theater this fall, as well as my first LA production down at South Coast Rep in February 2020. And it has been a mixture of fun in revisiting this project, as well as just rolling up my sleeves and doing the work, because this thing needs to get scored and needs to have tracks for the performance, and that's what I'm doing. I realize I don't do enough of these, and maybe I should be doing more, but I also don't have that many viewers, so it is what it is. But tell me what you do if you are a musical theater songwriter. Do music or lyrics or both come first? I guess both coming first doesn't make sense. How do you write your songs? All right, I will see you next week.